Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am very excited to be here today. I first joined YNPN back in 2005 when I moved to DC, and a number of my colleagues at ProInspire have been members, including Bridget McCabe, who's on the leadership team. So it's a real honor to be here as part of the annual celebration. As Carlin mentioned, I founded ProInspire in 2009 to develop the next generation of nonprofit leaders by expanding the leadership pipeline, developing professionals, and increasing diversity. I started ProInspire based on my own personal experience, seeing how difficult it was to come into the sector, and hearing from organizations about the lack of support they had to help develop their great talent. So over the last 4 years, I've been really fortunate to work with over 50 emerging leaders, 25 great nonprofits in Washington, D.C. and the Bay Area. A big part of my work is helping people think about their careers and leadership, and so I wanted to share a few of my lessons today and tell you some of my own personal stories. First is about finding your own compass. So I am a first-generation immigrant. My parents are from India, and when they moved here, they had certain ideas about careers, which namely were that people had no decisions in their careers. In India, your career was based on what you scored in high school. If you got a certain score, that meant you went to a certain college and led to a certain profession. So my dad became an engineer because of the score he got in high school. So when I was going to college at the University of Michigan, they assumed that I would become an engineer or a doctor. I told them that I wanted to work in the nonprofit sector, and they said, "Oh, why don't you try business?" And so after graduation, I decided to go work as a consultant with Arthur Andersen. Fast forward 2 years later, I had had a great experience at Arthur Andersen, and I learned a lot, but I wasn't excited by what I was doing. I had also realized the importance of finding something that's meaningful because my mom had recently passed away, and I realized that there's more to life than just having a job. So I decided to go to India to leave everything and try something completely different. And I got a job at CARE International, helping them launch a program for micro-entrepreneurs. And I still remember the day when I was working with some of the micro-entrepreneurs and realized I really love what I'm doing. And that fundamentally changed my perspective. I knew from that point forward that having work where I was doing social impact was part of my compass. Now I imagine that many of you already have that as part of your compass, which is why you work for nonprofits. But I want to encourage you to take time every year to look at your compass. Think about your values, think about your strengths, and think about what you don't want to do. Because as you progress in your career, you'll find that many opportunities will come to you, and having a good sense of your compass will help you decide what you do pursue and what you say no to. The other thing is that your compass will evolve. So as I look at my compass today, there's 3 things that are really important to me. One is to do work where I'm helping individuals and organizations drive social value. 2 is to do work where I'm using my strengths. And according to StrengthsFinder, woo is one of my top 5 strengths, which means winning others over. And 3 is to find some kind of work-life balance so I can spend time with my 2 young kids. But those are definitely very different pieces of my compass than they were when I came back from India. The second thing I want to share is that leadership happens when no one asks you to step up. When I graduated from Harvard Business School, I came to DC to work for Acción International, which is a leading microfinance organization. And Acción asked me to help them launch programs focused on insurance and financial literacy for the unbanked. I didn't really know anything about financial literacy, so I started to Google it, and I discovered that Visa has a really amazing financial literacy program. As I was searching around, I found a point of contact, and I emailed that person, told them about Acción, and asked if they could speak with me, and that person actually responded, and we got on the phone together, and as I was telling her what I was doing, she said, "You know, Visa is looking to partner with microfinance organizations. Would you be interested in speaking with that team?" So of course I said yes. And I ran over to my manager and I said, "I'm talking to these people at Visa and they're interested in talking to us." And she didn't really think anything of it. And so I just decided to pursue it on my own. So over the next month, I had multiple conversations with the people at Visa, told them about Acción, and started to realize that this could be a great partnership for Acción. Not for what I was doing in financial literacy, but for some of the other things that we were planning to do. And I got my manager involved, and we eventually had a full-day meeting with the people at Visa at our offices here in DC. And at the end of the meeting, the senior person from Visa turned to the executive director from Acción and said, "We want to be your corporate partner." So 4 months into this job, I had found a corporate partner that no one had even thought about. And my lesson from that is that no one asked me to reach out to Visa. Corporate partnerships wasn't even part of my job description. I wasn't part of the leadership team, but I stepped up, I saw an opportunity, and I felt like a leader, and so I was able to really present that. So that's my second piece of advice, which is real leaders are the people who step up when no one's asking them to. The last story is about being open to new paths. I'm reading a really great book right now by Clay Christensen, who's a leading business thinker. And his latest book is actually called How Will You Measure Your Life? So it's not about business, it's about careers and your life. And what he's trying to do is actually take a lot of the business frameworks and help people use them to make decisions. One of the important things he talks about in the book is finding the balance between your aspirations and the unanticipated opportunities. And he talks about the greatest strategies that have taken place in the world were actually people who were open to veering off what they thought they were going to do because something else better came up. And this is a really important lesson, I think, for young professionals in your career, because oftentimes we're told that we have to know what our long-term goal is, what our short-term goal is, what our medium-term goal is, when we're going to graduate school, what we're going to do after graduate school. And I think one of the great realizations I've had over my career is that you don't actually know what your long-term goal is, even if you think you do. And if you're not open to those unanticipated opportunities, you'll really miss out on something. For me, launching ProInspire was an unanticipated opportunity. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I used to tell people that I would rather work for a big organization so I could take vacation whenever I wanted to. And I didn't take any entrepreneurship classes at HBS, which I really kicked myself for. But I remember that aha moment when I knew I had to do this. I was sitting at a conference and Tom Tierney from the Bridgespan Group was talking about the nonprofit leadership deficit and the importance to think of innovative ways to bring in and to develop leaders in the sector. And I realized this was something that I knew personally, something that I was passionate about, and something that I could do something about. And that's what really led me down the path of starting ProInspire. So as you get ready for the new year and you start thinking about, am I happy where I am now? What's next? Or what's my long-term goal? I really hope that you'll think about some of these things. First, think back to your compass and make sure that you have a good sense of that. Second, make sure that you're stepping up in every way you can because you'll learn so much from those opportunities. And third, be open to the new paths because you never know where they will lead you. Thank you very much.